Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to our toast talk today. We are really excited to be joined in the room by two of our Oxbow foodies here. We have our culinary director, Nicholas Jirasek, and we have our former chef at Oxbow and certified food stylist, Emory Hall. Really excited to hear them in conversation to talk about both of their practices, but also what it's like to be in the kitchen at Oxbow. Our Toast Talks are a part of our Samson Club membership program. We are going to be introducing a newly minted version of the Samson Club very soon, so stay tuned for that. But part of the Samson Club includes Oxbow perks. We also have special discounts, and we also include conversations and talks and workshops like these. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our speakers today, and then we will jump into the conversation with them too. So first, we have Emory Hall. Emory is a chef and artist enamored by the possibilities of eating and the imagined future of consumption. Exploring the tension and harmony between edible and non-edible materials, she makes collaborative encounters with food outside of its ordinary context. Her work takes form as conceptual dinners, semi-edible sculptures, and food photography. She is currently completing an MFA in studio art and social practice from Otis College of Art and Design. From working in Michelin-recognized restaurants as a line cook, film and video production sets as a food stylist, and cooking dinners at artist residencies, she has a scope and range of experiences that lend themselves useful to future projects. Her work has been supported and commissioned by Oxbow School of Art and Artist Residency. She's from Kansas City as well. Everyone, give a warm welcome to Emory. And then we have our culinary director, Nicholas Jirasek. Nicholas Jirasek fast and varied career in hospitality, coupled with his energy and creative approach to food and community building, makes him perfect for his role as culinary director at Oxbow School of Art. Born and raised in Oak Park, Illinois, Jurasek's food and beverage career began with a job as a short order cook in a local diner before becoming director of food and beverage for the 94th floor at the John Hancock. His passion and close association to the arts yielded him to develop Gorilla Smiles Food Art, a catering company of sorts which collaborated with artists, nonprofits, and arts organizations for over a decade to create meaningful offerings from intimate salon dinners to fundraisers for thousands of people. Gorilla Smiles' foundational principle was to utilize inspirations from the aesthetics and thematics of a space, artist, or an event itself as a catalyst to create an immersive and inclusive experience. Over the course of his career, Jirasek has been a personal chef and caterer to artist Tony Fitzpatrick, consulted on and managed Los Del Patio, a full-service bar and restaurant within an art gallery and cultural center in Panama City, and served as opening chef for Currency Exchange, the Astor Gates' first foray into the restaurant industry in a rehabbed Southside Currency Exchange. There's so much more to say about Jirasek, but I will let him get into that as well. So without further ado, please welcome Emory and Jirasek.
Hello.
Yeah.
So much, Sierra.
Thank you. First things first, I do want to know, what is your favorite toast? We love a toast bar at Oxbow, as many of you may know. There's lots of different renditions and concoctions that you can make, but with you two being food folks, I would love to hear what your favorite toast is.
Well,
Remember, you want to go first? I feel like you actually did eat toast pretty much every day when you were here at Oxbow. So
I did, yeah. I feel like, okay, I had a lot of time to go and get a piece of toast because that's like my mid-morning snack. But I was someone who would either, I think I'd go and get my own bread. I think I would kind of skip the bread that was there. No offense, but I liked my own bread.
what was the bread?
And
What was
no, the bread I would pick. I would probably pick I probably pick that like Ezekiel, that Bible bread, the one with all the like the sprouted wheat bread. I really like that. And I like peanut butter, some kind of nut butter on it. And then late at night, so that would be like daytime toast, is like peanut butter toast. And then at night, past 10 or 11, it would be like shitty bread, butter, and salt, and that would be it. So I'd go for the good stuff.
You got a daytime bread and nighttime bread.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's a good way to look at it. I definitely am in agreement with the Ezekiel bread. That's like something that's always kind of a staple for anywhere I'm living, just like having that in the freezer.
Makes me feel holy.
Yeah, I mean,
Kind of
it
blesses me.
seems like, you know, there's a lot of demonization of the gluten and of the breads nowadays, and it seems like Ezekiel gets to kind of like skirt that issue a little bit, that like it's healthy bread, it's sprouted, it's
Yeah.
holy, it's got Bible verses or whatever on it. So I'm like honestly like right in agreement with that. And then I put a bunch of butter and then Marmite. Like that's like my favorite toast. Like people have certain feelings about Marmite, but I feel like it just tastes like honestly like a ramen packet. It's like I feel like if you just took a piece of toast and butter and then put like a instant ramen packet on top of it, that's exactly how Marmite and butter and toast tastes. So
Wow. And you were the first person, I think, in Oxbow history to bring Marmite to the toast bar.
I mean, it's got to be Marmite, Vegemite.
Yeah.
Shout out to
It made
my
its
friend
like
Kurt
debut
and
appearance.
Susan.
Yeah. As well as the Gatorade. I feel like you were also, that was one of the first, when you first started here, one of the first new moves was putting a Gatorade pump on the toast bar.
Necessary. They're so hot over here, and everyone's working so hard, and I'm passionate about hydration for the people. So that's actually a vestige of well, so it's like a Gatorade concentrate gallon, right? So like there's different flavors, and it kind of like has like that snow cone vibe. When I first saw it, and I saw it at like I want to say like some college sporting event or something like that. And then I was like, well, wouldn't that be cool to like use as like the actual snow cone topping? And we, as Young American, did like Complex Con when they did Complex Con for the first time in Chicago. And like, so it's like we were like a vendor. We're like, what are we gonna vend? Like, we're gonna do goth bread? Are we gonna do, burgers or something? I'm like, no, we're doing snow cones with Gatorade on top.
I didn't know you guys did that. That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
So we just had so much of that left over that when we like kind of switched concepts to big kids, that there was just all of this Gatorade syrup left in the basement essentially. And we started just like putting into Topo Chico, we started putting into like iced tea and all those things. And to this day, I believe that Big Kids still has something called cool water on the menu, which is just like taking a Topo Chico and pouring out like 2 ounces of it and then pouring in 2 ounces of Gatorade concentrate, which is pretty freaking hilarious.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. That's like a revitalizing, that's a new drink. Yeah.
Cool water.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. Passionate about beverages. You gotta have a lot of beverages on tap.
I agree. I mean, I think when you go to brunch, I got like maybe a coffee, something bubbly, hopefully something fermenty, be it kombucha, be it, sparkling wine or something like that.
Yeah, a coffee, an orange juice.
Orange juice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you well, I guess I could ask you more about beverages, but I won't because I don't have to. But I guess do you have any upcoming like menu inspiration for this kind of downtime at Oxbow, or kind of like this in-between time where there's less folks on campus? What are some of the projects you're excited to tackle? Just because it does seem like it is like really busy when I was there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's always, projects that are like stewing on it's honestly like the way that my head thinks is like cooking, like where I'm like, okay, cool, there's these projects. I have like, a braise going that's like on the back burner. I have a braise that's like, or a saute pan in the front that's like really, really hot that I need to like to pay a lot of attention to and cook that. And then I got like, something smoking out in the smoker out back. And so, I mean, to that point, like I haven't honestly gotten a whole lot of time to focus on cooking since I've been at Oxbow, because I'm like really focused on trying to empower the rest of the kitchen staff to like kind of to do not necessarily their projects, but like to like really get the kitchen to work together in kind of like some sort of synchronicity. I mean, I guess on that note, like some of the things that I'm really excited about are the partnerships that we're creating as a kitchen with other organizations. Like having this collaboration that we're doing with Virtue Cider, where they're going to make a cider that's named for Oxbow, and they'll give us a portion of those proceeds. Hopefully, do something similar with a brewery, and then we've really been talking about possibly getting some new coffee on campus, and then potentially opening up a cafe on campus, which would be really, really cool, because I just really want espresso. And then the tentative idea for that is making bagels from scratch, because everyone loves bagels, and we already, as you know, and this is something that um, you know since the toast bar of Oxbow is not like available to all of the attendees because of the COVID mitigation standards that we have, we've been making bagels every morning, for the staff, and the bagels aren't great just because it's hard to get a good bagel out here. But we've been making these cool schmears, like the smoked salmon schmear. We actually have been doing a liver pate schmear as well. Tony has this weird pickle and cheddar schmear that he made. So yeah, so then like hopefully transition like kind of the toast bar that is like only available to the people that are like on staff right now, but then like have a cafe where we're making homemade bagels and having these really kind of interesting schmears for people to purchase.
Cool. Very cool. Cafe Oxbow. What would you name it? Would it be the Restaurant in the Woods?
I don't know. I think that's very much to be determined. I would assume that it'd probably be named after someone who's helping us achieve the financial backing in order to make this dream come true.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, it could be named like, the Raccoon Den or something like that too.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird if you think about naming things. I always get like a little bit, even having the last couple of restaurants, like I always kind of remove myself from the naming process because I know people feel pretty strongly about the names of places, but I think that like when you get kind of removed from something for long enough, like the name is just, it doesn't really mean anything. Like people go to Longman and Eagle. That's like the worst name for a restaurant. No offense to Longman and Eagle, it's a great restaurant, it's a great place. It's been around for,
but it's really emblematic of that movement in like the new American restaurant movement of like the 2010s, where it was like blank, ampersand, and blank, like noun, ampersand, verb, or like it was very much a formulaic way to kind of make something really like farm to table and really authentic looking. But they always, not all of them, but because I can't stereotype, but a lot of restaurants do lack that brand, like that personality, that authenticity. And I know that like when you and I worked closely this summer on rebranding the Instagram, like it's really hard work. Like it's really hard to kind of pin down a personality on a restaurant, because a restaurant is like a living organism full of people. It's made up of people. So yeah, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that. Yeah.
No, that's a great point. Like every restaurant almost has a persona, and it's made up of this branding. It's made up of the people that are physically there as well. That's really interesting. I think that, shout out to Sierra and Ashley, making like, Oxbow have this like really specific kind of feel from being here, but also from seeing it and interacting with the internet on emails. And I think that's something that, when we kind of together were like, hey, like trying to utilize some of the skill set that you had before, like, and being like, I want us to have this personality on Instagram or on social media or on the internet as a kitchen specifically. It's hard to like kind of like figure out what actually is our voice as a kitchen, what it actually is our voice as a department on Oxbow's campus, and a part of Oxbow, but at the same time like something that is somewhat different. And I guess like to go back to the question you were asking before, that's kind of like still what I'm kind of like, you know, I can't wait to like kind of just get into the making the food and working with everyone here about, you know, how I think about food. But like I think we're still in this like process of figuring out like who are we as a department, who are we as a team, and I think you did a great job of capturing that from when you were here of like there's just these moments, you know, of really amazing collaboration that I don't think has quite like been able to be digested yet because we're still kind of in motion and in season. So
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like restaurants as that's something I think about a lot is restaurants as these living organisms, just because they are made up of people. And a lot of stuff in your work really centers on people. It's your work is centered on relationships. It is about food, but the food is almost kind of like a means to an end, you know, where the food is, yeah, it's like bringing the people together. And I think that's what's something that's like beautiful about working with a team is that it is really hard to pin down, you know, individual personalities, but as a collaboration, it just becomes like this. I guess what I felt in the Oxbow kitchen was just this energy that like we really couldn't exist without, because we are a team of 5. I mean, I am no longer there, but there was like 5 or 6 of us that like were really instrumental in like creating that personality. You know, it's like if you take out Nate for a day, it's like the vibe, the dynamic is totally different. You know, Nate's our party guy. Nate's like our music, and Nate's the hype man. Nate's like, yeah. And then like, you know, everyone brings such unique skills. And I think that's what's really interesting. And that's to me is the big challenge of being a part of a team and being a visual communicator. Is like how do you kind of portray that? You know, is it through Instagram? Is it through kind of events? Is it through visual media? Or is it just like pop-ups? And I feel like what you've done in your work, I met you through pop-ups. I feel like I met you, well, I guess Ludlow was more of a long-standing, it was a long-running pop-up, but it kind of had a pop-up vibe or it was Old Habits through Ludlow. I think the energy of pop-ups is where I think restaurants are like really interesting. You know, like pop-ups are so limited. They're like the limited edition clothing item that you can't get. You know, they're very like time sensitive. They're special. They're fleeting. And I know that's something that you've like really been instrumental to in Chicago, you know, bringing other folks into Ludlow to have pop-ups. I guess maybe it's not really a question, it's more of a comment on like the energy of pop-ups. How do you want to continue the energy of pop-ups and kind of like that, you know, because even at Oxbow, I feel like we were all really good at being like, let's serve dinner on the meadow, let's serve dinner at Glass. Like that in itself is a pop-up, you know, where it's like, we're not in the kitchen tonight.
Right. Yeah, I think that you know, there's a lot to that, and I think that like at its core, what you're talking about absolutely nailed it on the head of that. Like, yeah, I make food, and I feel like I make pretty good food, but that's like such a small part of it. You know, like it's like really that I'm not honestly passionate about food. I'm passionate about people, and
Totally.
the food is a medium to connect. It's something that we all do. It's something we all interact with, and you know, have a valid opinion about because it's something that we interact with all the time. And it's super experiential, you know, and I think that during the pandemic, it became really, I mean, I guess we're still during the pandemic, but in the early pandemic, when we're kind of really in strict quarantine and lockdown, that it became super apparent how much of food and dining out played a part in people's lives, especially in American culture. And so one of the big things that I talked about with big kids at the time when we're kind of developing this kind of pop-up like takeout concept was that like this has to be experiential, right? It has to feel like you're going to a restaurant. It has to feel like you're getting this like fun social experience without actually going out to the restaurant, right? So like, you know, when you think of big kids, you know, that's like there's this 90s nostalgia that's coming in. So you already have that kind of in your head. You're getting this big fun sandwich that's packaged in a way that has this like dinosaur sticker on it. Like it's really painting this picture of like a time and a place before you even like bite it into it, you know, so you're already kind of geeked about the whole eating experience before you've even like eaten it. And then, you know, hopefully like the food is really, really, really good. And hopefully that the food kind of follows up with all of those ideas that or expectations that you've kind of built before you're even tasting it. But, you know, in some ways, the way that you're talking about like Instagram and like the personality of a restaurant, the personality of a space is so much built on like that, of like creating that experience, creating that expectation before you even like get to, like I have restaurants, I'm sure you do too as well, like that I follow on Instagram that like I've never been there, you know, maybe I never will be there, but at the same time, like I like feel like I'm getting inspiration and getting experience just from like kind of watching them, you know.
Totally agree. Yeah, and it's in the details. It's in the packaging, it's in the music that's playing, it's in the ephemera of the environment. And I feel like that stuff is where I'm most interested to see restaurants kind of, I feel like restaurants are fairly conservative and safe in that way. Most restaurants,
Yeah.
they kind of like to play the strengths of stuff that works and stuff that is, you know, dependable, and people getting a good meal consistently.
Yeah.
Like the stuff that, you know, you go out to eat and you're like, okay, yeah, like cool, 10 out of 10, great. Yelp review, great, 5-star.
Right.
But I feel like restaurants can take so much creative liberties that they just don't, a lot of restaurants don't take, you know. And I feel like that with, I mean, that's why I'm so interested in food and art, because I feel like we're missing out on this multi-sensory range of experiences. We're missing out on scent. We're missing out on all these weird, they can be kind of gimmicky, but just these weird moves that you can pull to really get someone to stick around and stay and have it be a really memorable experience, you know?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. That I feel like there is this kind of, you know, blend of like actual artistic expression in food happening in restaurants, but it's only reserved for like the fine dining like sector.
Totally.
Um,
And
which
only the head chef, like
yeah,
the top of
exactly.
the line. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, like, you know, if you're talking about like your Alinias or your Nomas, or your Esmes, that yeah, like, but those ideas could be had and could be done at any point, you know, like you could be in a sandwich shop and they could be like, you know, giving you your sandwich with a sage smudge on the side, like you're saying, you know, like and it's this healing thing, it's this experiential thing.
Yeah,
um
totally.
Tony and Nate are outside the window trying to distract me, and they're doing a great job, so
Oh my God, yes. Um,
I think that, you know, it's interesting to look at what has come out of the like extreme pandemic was, you know, a little bit more exploration into some of those ideas, or the opportunity for people to create these interesting pop-ups, or these like, let's say like somewhat like artistic ideas, rather than like being focused on craft or being focused on turning tables and, you know, getting the 10 out of 10 on Yelp.
totally.
um, and building these alternative economies, that aren't necessarily like building business models or building like models of labor the way that we want to work, you know, not to be this kind of like French brigade system that most kitchens are run. And we're seeing a lot of the issues come up where like, um, you know, the toxicity that has traditionally happened in the kitchens, and people being like, that's just not how we're going to do it. We're not going to make the same mistakes. We've had this time to kind of rest for a beat and think about and reflect and look
Right.
at what we want going forward, you know.
Right. 'Cause no matter what, I mean, even without, I mean, the pandemic really just kind of lifted that veil, but I feel like restaurants have to change. There's so many of them, and it's almost like daily. I mean, I'm really just thinking about Chicago here, but you like a new one opens, you know, every single week, and then they close, you know, they close so quickly. And so it's like there's this new, I feel like there's going to be a new wave of how to run restaurants, because I also feel like, you know, people, it's kind of like with advertising, it kind of feels very like a virus where we catch up to like the things that we catch up to the things that like were working in the past, and then it's like, well, we got to have something new, and it's got to keep pushing us forward. And I think yeah, I think that there's just going to be a new demand for something kind of in between a part. I don't know if it's a party. I don't know if it's I feel like people really, the movement of food halls was really interesting. I don't know if it's still going on, but like kind of doing that where like there was a new food hall, there were a bunch of new food halls where it was like, and that concept was interesting too. It's like getting a bunch of different restaurants in the same space, which is interesting in its own way. But yeah, there's going to have to be some big changes in the restaurant industry.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. And I think that, to that point, that we're seeing this idea of labor shortage, which is a
Yeah.
farcical term in a lot of ways. It's just that people who were, kind of horse blinders on, head down, cooking, cleaning, doing these like hard service jobs, had a second to breathe. Really, it's like kind of like if you're swimming a mile, you're just swimming that mile, and you don't have time to like think about the ocean and the waves and the sunset and all the things around you. And I think that this pandemic has been that breath that everyone has had. I'm like, well, I'm not going to go back to literally like destroying my body for an industry that's giving me $13 an hour and no benefits and no necessarily like career path.
Right.
So I think that we're seeing a really awesome kind of course correction that's happening of people creating opportunities for themselves, creating alternative economies, through these pop-ups that have been happening. The pop-ups kind of being like almost like driven by Instagram, of being like this delivery model, which is super cool, or them like popping into another existing brick and mortar business. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like people are going to have to figure out, as restaurants, what kind of business they want to be and what kind of kitchen they want to run. And I think that a lot of folks are making doing the calculus and figuring out like, hey, like I don't want to, like, I'm not even going to be involved in this if I'm not going to do it the right way. And I hope that like we're going to see a lot like more like chef driven, chef co-owners, like chef owner like spots that are like small, kind of like, 12 tables, nothing more than that, or just a cafe, a sandwich shop, passion projects, rather than being like, I'm going to open up the next ampersand restaurant that's going to follow the trend that has happened 5 years ago on either coast, like,
Right. Yeah. Are there any chefs right now, chefs or artists that you're looking at and you're kind of like really taking note on what they're up to and some of the decisions they're making? Who are you really into right now?
I think that there's almost a taboo in a lot of ways for folks that are in the industry right now that are like actually owning a place to talk about their business models. I think that like that's not even just specific to now. I think that's always kind of, there's been, I don't know, it's necessarily gatekeeping, but like there's
Yeah.
like a hush of like the actual back end of how restaurants are run.
Yeah.
I would really like to see that change. I would like to see a lot more transparency. I think that's something that, I know we're not like a for-profit restaurant here at Oxbow, but it's something where, I've wanted to give everyone the ability to understand what's going on from the business end of running this kitchen. So to that note, without like calling out a specific restaurant, there is a friend I know that is running a place who is a partner in a really successful restaurant in the Logan Square neighborhood of Chicago, that has a really cool model that everyone, be it in front of the house or back of the house, bartender, server, runner, line cook, dishwasher, is getting paid the exact same base wage. And that base wage is, again, goes across the board. And there's a service charge that goes to everyone's tab. And then a lot of people actually tip on top of that because they hear about the reasoning that this is set up this way. But then all of that money is then spread out evenly amongst everyone that works. And you see the buy-in in people. You see, well, first and foremost, people are happy because they have an ability to take care of themselves. They feel like their work is valued and they feel like they're a part of a team. And so, everyone is like motivated to be working there. It's a really fun environment as well. but then also like they're actually being like accurately compensated for the work that they're doing. So those are like the things that I'm really excited about. Like there's like certain food thing, like actual culinary things that I'm really into, but really the things that excite me about like cooks and chefs and restaurants are like these kind of alternate labor models that are putting and distributing funds in a way that's more like progressive and more like honestly like 2021 like.
Yeah, totally. And that's really interesting too, because I feel like the role, I mean, you are first and foremost an artist and and a chef, but mostly an artist. And it's really interesting to see such it is a detached stance where you are like detached from the day to day, like, I need to make this meal that has all these like, you know, ingredients. I need to like make the thing. It's like, it's so big picture where it's like, I just want to take a look at like the structure, the infrastructure, and like
Yeah,
that is the project. And that's really interesting too. The labor model is the project.
yeah, I think that, yeah, totally. And I think that in the labor model, which is a part of a greater structure of like, you know, what is cooking in general, what is this industry, and
Yeah.
you know, really, if you think about the fact that like we're, you know, charging people money to eat is kind of a funny thing. Like it's kind of obscure, you know, in a lot of ways. um but yeah, like like in totality of thinking about, I'm food excites me. Like I'm excited about food every day. I'm excited about more about the people and more about like what this position, and not even just my position, but you know, at large, what it means to be able to make food for people and to then take care of you know, to take care of people really is what you're doing. It's like there's
Yeah.
always this, we're in the hospitality industry, which I don't think, that to me is a misnomer. Like hospitality and industry don't intersect. Like hospitality is a true, genuine thing that comes from your heart. You want to take care of someone.
Right.
You know, someone comes over to your house, you're going to feed them. You're going to make sure that they have clothes. You're going to give them water. You know, you're not going to be like, cool, someone comes over. I'm going to show my hospitality to you. That'll be $29.95 for that towel. That'll be, you know, $14 for that meal. Like, you know, hospitality is a genuine thing. It's not an industry. And so
Yeah. It almost
I
can't
think of that.
yeah, it can't have an economic value.
Yeah.
You can't, yeah, it's something that's invaluable. Yeah. Did you see yourself in this place? Or like not at Oxbow specifically, but kind of in this new yeah, kind of in this role? Did you ever see yourself here? Or did you have a different vision when you were a lot younger? When
uh,
you were first starting out, were you like, I'm gonna be head chef and I'm gonna be doing what, I don't know. What was kind of that trajectory, or was it always open?
I think it was open. You know, I think that I kind of like went back and forth between making food, like kind of being back of house, and then management, because management generally made more money, and you know, the hours were the same, and I always kind of held that the weight of being a leader, I guess. I don't know at what point I like kind of felt like I was a leader, but like I've always kind of felt the weight of that. Like I had to help and like a responsibility to like take care of and help the people that are like specifically around me.
Mhm.
And then the more that I like kind of thought about that idea and pursued, um, you know, leadership opportunities, the more that I kind of was like, oh, this is something that I should be doing. This is something that has value and something that I'm good at and something that like I want to use in the proper way. And so, you know, like what is that? The John Hancock, I was like 23, the director of food and beverage. That position wasn't even existent then. And I, you know, pretty much hired all my friends. I was able to pay them all $15 an hour, get them health insurance. And like that was what I was like really focused on at that point. At the same time, like creating this catering program, creating this bar program, which was really fun and engaging from a creative basis. But really, the genesis of it all was that like I wanted my friends to have health insurance and get paid like a livable wage. And that was like, you know,
Wow.
15
Yeah.
years ago. But
Wow.
then as a reaction to that, like of me kind of like not liking this rigidity of being in like a corporate environment, which I learned so many great things through that experience. That's when I started Grill Smiles, which is, you know, this like underground catering company, which I would primarily go to, art exhibits and collaborate with artists to create something, aesthetic or thematic based off of their exhibition or their performance. So when people would come to the art shows, like, for me, it was like, if I went to an art show, I would go to, beeline to the bar and get the cheese and crackers and the $2 chuck or whatever. And my friends were opening a gallery at the time. And so I was just like, what a tremendous opportunity to like have this piece of food that could be, inspired by or response to the artwork, and then like a great icebreaker for, people to talk about the art, and to talk about the artist. And
exactly,
I think,
especially like the accessibility of it, like I feel like a lot of us have been in those spaces where we show up to the opening and we're like, okay, who do I talk to? What do I do? What do I do with my hands? Where do I stand? What do I look at? How do I do this? And I feel like the entry point of food is so common, and it is such an easy pickup to just be like able to access that.
I guess on that note, like, so when did you feel like you were, going to make like food or use food as a medium to like make art? Because, I think we've talked about just before the idea of like, it's hard to find food artists out there, because I feel like there's more of them now than there were, let's say, like 3-4 years ago, or even just before the pandemic. But, how did you like find yourself like becoming a food artist? Like, I know that you were an artist before, and then, food becomes this medium. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it found me because I was looking for other things. I found food styling when I moved to Chicago. I knew I wanted to work in the food photography field. I think I wanted to be involved in magazines, and I wanted to kind of have a role in like shooting and capturing food in the beautiful lighting and all that stuff. And I found food styling, and I thought it was just the wildest job ever. It was one of those jobs where I was like, this can't be, people don't do this. Like, this is not real. And it was just it piqued my curiosity in such a way that I had to figure out where that path would go. And I just kept finding ways to be a food stylist in Chicago, and to kind of play around with material, and to play around with glues and plastics and all that stuff. And I think that it really was like a series of entry points. And that's when I kind of decided, or that's when I found that on set as a food stylist, you are the one who's executing the vision of the art director or the creative director, or anyone, really the director of the show or the set. And while I really respected that I was able to execute those things, I wasn't the one coming up with the ideas oftentimes. And I felt that voice, I needed to find that voice to create my own stuff. I wanted to see, and like, you and I joke so often about just like weird food humor and food memes. I have such a sense of humor with food. I think like the whole thing is just such a, I don't want to say it's a joke, but I just think that it's just such a, I get so much joy in playing with food, that I think that I'm really curious. I think I just am really curious about why I decided to pick this medium, because I actually really don't know. I'm someone who, I wanted to be a chef, and I looked at that path, and that path was interesting, but it wasn't it. I looked at food photography, and that path was like sort of it. I don't know. Yeah, I kind of just I'm not exactly sure if the pieces have filled in yet. I feel like I'm meant to be working on projects, or I'm drawn to working on projects that are about what we're going to eat in the future, because I'm also someone who's like a little bit bored by the realities of food, like its physical realities that you eat. Like, I'm looking mess with this, can we make this into something else? And I think it's just this endless curiosity of like what's possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's why
On
I
that note,
the future of food so much, is that I'm like, when are we going to start eating algae? When are the crickets coming in? When are we going to start doing things with lichen? And that stuff is just beyond fascinating to me. Oh yeah, cricket powder. Yeah. And I think that's why I like chefs so much too, is chefs are really, they're always willing to go there. You know, they're always willing to be like, chefs are always working with, at least like cooks and chefs that we work with at Oxbow, you know, like all of us in the
Mm.
kitchen, like we're so down to work with like such strange and interesting and unique and revered ingredients. And I just love that endless experimentation.
Mm. What do you think it's
Yeah.
the difference that brings like you know, I came in here, I've only been here for 4 months, and it seems like I've been here for 4 decades in a great way, you know. But like the differential between what it takes to be, or what, not what it takes, but like what is the skill set or the experiential set that like a cook at Oxbow has versus like a cook in like a, you know, a Michelin caliber restaurant.
Mm, like the like what differences and what similarities we have with Michelin star restaurant cooks.
What draws people to either one? You know, it's kind of like, you know, you're like, okay, cool. I got into food styling and I'm really interested in like, you know, the like photography aspect, the art aspect of that. And then there's also like, you're also, when you're here making food, you know, like, so
Right.
as a, you know, as a cook at Oxbow, you're very specifically tasked with making 3 meals a day for the students, the faculty, and the staff that are here, you know, and then you're also supposed to be able to carve out this time to like work on your practice as well, because most people that are here are also practicing artists. If it's not specifically in food, it's in something else.
Right.
Um, I guess like what is the difference between that day and between a day of like being in an actual kitchen? Because, you know,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
were
Yeah. Yeah.
in a Michelin caliber kitchen, and so I guess, can you like kind of talk about like how you how both of those things felt?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I feel like that's the great thing about both jobs is that they both had a rigor to them that I worked really well with. You know, in at Paso Roto, which is where I was previously, um,
Mhm.
which was a James Beard nominated restaurant. I'm not sure if it ever won one, but I know it was nominated. Working there had a much different feel where it was very much the direction and the vision of the chef, Chef Jennifer Kim. And she was so brilliant. And she had, you know, she would just conceptualize a dish and she knew exactly what she wanted and she knew exactly how to like ask, you know, I worked on the roast station. So she would be able to ask me or just very clearly delegate, you know, what needs to happen in order for this dish to happen, to make this dish work. And so I learned a lot, you know, I learned a lot by watching her. But in a, you know, in a formal kitchen, especially a high-end fine dining kitchen, like you're not making the decisions you make are maybe as a line cook, you're making maybe you get some creative liberties with staff meal and you're pretty lucky if you get to put a dish on the menu, you know. And I think a lot for a lot of cooks that's okay, you know. I think a lot of cooks um you know, they, at least I was in a place where I wanted to be told what to do, and she wasn't telling me what to do per se, but she was in charge and she knew what she wanted. And I think that that's a place where a lot of learning can happen. And I was thankfully you know, humble enough to be like, yeah, she knows what she wants, let's, you know, I don't need to fight it, you know, I don't need to like suggest to put new things on the menu. But you know, you do hit a point, at least for me, I hit this point. I feel like in most jobs I hit this point pretty quickly, which is to, you know, just credit to me being, I know that I'm an artist because I am constantly flooded with ideas and I cannot close my mouth. I cannot stop. You know, they are just happening. And like if I don't find an outlet for them and if I don't find a way to um you know, utilize these ideas I have, I don't know, I guess they just turn into other things. But I found that at Oxbow, you know, I did get to live, I got to have my cake and eat it too, you know. I got to be my little like professional chef that like I could do the whole, you know, I could have all my tweezers and I could have all my stuff, you know, I could go there and do the rigorous
Mhm.
thing, but I also could be what I feel like is a better fit for me, which is like, you know, hey, I really want to make this dressing. I really want to do this. I really want to do this. And of course, you know, I'm on a team, so it's not, you know, it's not up to me all the time. You know, I work with fantastic other chefs, and there are a lot of ideas that come through, but I do get to have that say. And also, like, with, you know, you being the new leader for this kitchen, you know, that was where things really changed, and I did get to see a lot of my ideas come to life in a way that I don't think I've been supported by a boss in that way, you know, especially in a kitchen. And so that's in and of itself a gift, to have someone who is able to kind of clear that path out for you so that you can be like, yeah, brunch this weekend is going to be fake McDonald's. Like, we're doing fast food or whatever silly thing that, you know, we wanted to do. Like, it was just, and that's the stuff that I think as an artist is so invaluable, because it's these little practices. It's like these little like experiments, you know, we just tried out stuff and got to see what stuck.
Yeah, I truly love I love the energy that everyone brings, and every day. Like, I think that you mentioned before that there's almost like, if someone is gone, you know, they have 2 days off, or if they, you know, go on vacation for 3 days, you almost feel like this like absence. Like, you feel this
Oh,
like kind of like very energetic difference in the kitchen. And I don't know if any other kitchen I've worked in has felt that so much way. I feel like there's so much that we feed off each other's energy, and that includes in like these like ways that you know, we approach making, like, you know, a fun brunch menu, or a collaboration with a visiting artist. And it is like a lot of work too, you know. I mean, like, it's a lot of work, from a mental aspect, from an emotional aspect, and from a physical aspect. And
definitely.
I think like getting to do those like really fun, like, you know, like, let's say like experimental or more like artistic, like almost like pop-ups within this Oxbow kitchen, or doing these collaborations with artists, is like really, it's crazy to me, because it's like, you know, I think about like my entire, like, let's say like career in food and beverage, and there's just really no other place that encapsulates all of that. You know, it is this management, it is creating these different labor models, and it is like very much so like putting food in conversation with art and having that intersection. And it's like every day, it's like every day is a pop-up here.
Yeah. And it's amazing. I feel like it is incredibly overwhelming, but I wouldn't, I mean, that's why I did it. That's why, you know, I keep wanting to stick around for that. I'm not someone who really wants to just kind of coast for a little bit. I feel like as soon as you got here, you were like, we're turning it up, we're going. And it's like,
We're done. Yeah.
yeah, we're going, we're doing it. And I just think that I don't know. Yeah, it's way more fun that way.
I guess on that note, is there anything that like, something that like you cooked here, or you worked on here, like specifically like a food item that you continue to cook? Like I guess, like, what are you eating while you're while you're out there? Do you have a kitchen? Like, are you living in a dorm?
Oh my God, if I lived in a dorm, that would be insane. I'm on kind of a food break. You know, it's interesting. I'm cooking for one now. I live alone right now, which is insane because I was living with so many people.
Yeah.
So that adjustment is in and of itself really wild. But yeah, I'm no longer cooking for 70, so I get to kind of experiment a little bit. But I'm kind of, I don't know. I'm in the because yeah, my career is so food and art, you know, centric, and I was really in the food realm, and now I feel like I'm very much in the art realm, and I'm focusing on that. I'm strengthening that leg of the stool, if you will. And so I'm kind of like, I don't care about food right now. And I
Yeah.
mean, that sounds like kind of brash, but I really am like eating like, I think I'm just like, I think I ate, oh, you know what? I thought about you. I went to the grocery store and I got one of those like salad kits, and I got like this it was like buffalo ranch chicken salad kit. It was like one of those like pre-made ones. And I was just like, this is
Yeah.
great. It's no Caesar salad, but it was like, yeah, it's like a shake up thing. It had like the crunchy stuff and the cheese and all that.
Yeah.
Um, I'm taking a nice like kind of mental break of really like thinking about food and just, yeah, thinking
I think
about
that's a great thing that you bring up. A lot of people don't like understand that when you're so actively making food that like there's this almost like fatigue that happens. Like you mentioned it a little bit earlier before about like food can be really unexciting. Even like, you know, you can think of like people are like, what's your favorite food? What's your favorite thing to make? And it's like, I don't know. Like,
It's
you
like
know, like
something, it's a lot of times it's something really boring, or it's like I feel like so many cooks are like, I just want fast food, honestly, or I just want to like eat out, give me a pizza, and you're like, really? Like
yeah.
you're a famous chef. That's what you're gonna have? And it's like, yeah, like I want something pretty like normal.
Yeah, my answer to what's your favorite food is always that anything that anyone else cooks me. Because, oh, it's such a
I love
beautiful
that.
thing. So
Yeah,
rarely happens too, you know, like
yeah, yeah. I love that because yeah, so many cooks are just like, no, yeah. It just because it feels different, you know. It feels so much. It tastes, and I feel like I can notice the taste too when someone makes you a meal. Um, it it's really special. Um, it's really really special.
are you eating Caesar salads while you're out there then?
I haven't really. I want to. I haven't been eating. My student loans haven't kicked in. So once those kick in, I can start going out again.
Yeah. To get the Caesar salad.
Yeah. I know. So yeah, it's just we're working on. We're doing yeah. Caesar salad is important, and
Yeah.
there's great restaurants out here. I've done a little bit of exploring, but not nearly the amount that I want to.
I don't know if I've told you this before, but when we were doing like the tasting menu to open up Old Habits at Ludlow, me and my good friend Eric at the time, like we had come up with this concept called Team Caesar, which I mean, this is like, you know, again, like half of the ideas that I come up with are start as jokes, you know, and like then it's like, no, but like, what if we did that? And then you do it like, this is actually really hilarious, and I love this. But the Team Caesar didn't make it on the menu, but what the idea was is that
Oh, fun.
it's like just like a whole Caesar salad. Like it's like, you know, one of those big old bowls like that you would get like at a picnic that would just be
Oh,
sitting out of
yeah,
Caesar
yeah, yeah.
salad. So you order a Team Caesar, and it was like, you know, you're ordering it for like,
Oh my
it's the Caesar
God,
salad for like 4 people. So
it's
you gotta
amazing.
gotta
Caesar
get
for the
in on
table.
that. Salad.
I love that.
So we'll see if that'll show up on a menu sometime somewhere. But
I hope so. I really hope so. Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the time. We're like pretty close to, wow, I can't believe how quickly that went. I don't know if people, I mean, I don't think this is like a Q&A. I think this is a recorded thing. Also like,
yeah.
yeah. But
Uh,
I, yeah, I know you and I have had we've had so many, because yeah, we were friends before you worked here, and we've had so many
mm,
good talks about food, but it's so nice to get to ask you stuff and get some time with you. So thank you for indulging me in
yeah,
questions.
likewise. It's fun.
Yeah,
It's fun to hear. It's interesting to see you on a screen and not have these conversations
I
in
know. Yeah.
person. But I'm really excited, and it's great to hear like kind of your perspective on things and how it's like kind of changed throughout the years and in this stage of where you are. I know we only have a couple of minutes left, but I do want to part with like maybe if you could give like one cooking or food tip, or it could be, I guess, a life tip too, you know, of something for the folks that are watching this.
Oh, I love that. Cooking or life tip? I feel like I'll go with cooking tip.
Mm.
I feel like, okay, maybe this is not a tip, but it's more of just like a life thing. But I feel like making your own salad dressing is the best thing you can do for yourself. And there's really no reason to buy salad dressings when you can just make really good ones. So I feel like I'm a big fan of making my own salad if you're able to. And like they can be really easy. I have a few recipes, so give me a call if you want one. But I'm just a big fan of like, yeah, I don't know. I just feel like salad dressings are just or prepackaged ones are great for if you're in a pinch, but always make your own salad dressing.
Always make your own salad dressing. I'm guilty of definitely having a love for the Aldi brand Italian dressing. But aside from that, I make my own dressing. That one just sits like a nostalgic point. I don't know.
Yeah,
That was a weird. I ate like
different.
carrot in Italian dressing when I was a kid.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But it has to be Aldi. It can't be.
Has to
It
all
can't
be,
be like Paul Newman or whatever. Yeah.
can't be Palm, can't be Kraft. No, it's got to be Aldi.
Yeah. Yeah, I love
Uh,
that.
the one cooking tip I have for everyone is to use more MSG, and that for you probably you don't even have MSG in your kitchen, go out and buy it. Sometimes it's called Accent, but yeah, it is your friend. It makes everything, literally everything, taste more like itself.
Starter. Yeah. We
Yeah.
love MSG. This summer, Oxbow cooked with 100% more MSG.
Yeah, that's like, and that's the secret ingredient, and everyone who's like, oh, that's a secret ingredient. Well, it's MSG. That's what it turns out. Like it's not so much a secret. Anytime people say there's a secret ingredient, the secret ingredient is always MSG.
Yeah. It's so delicious. Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks so much, Emory, and hopefully, maybe in the fall when you have a lull in your classes, you come back out, and we're kind of planning on doing some like workshops and some collaborations after the session is done. It'd be really cool to have you back out here and work on some stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait to stay in touch. I miss you guys. Tell everyone in the kitchen hi, because I miss everyone so much.
Absolutely will.
Yeah, I miss everyone so much. Sierra, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you two so much for the fruitful discussion. Really learned a lot about both things and love talking and hearing about food and just practice and people and connections to art. So thank you so much for sharing space and time with us. And please, if you'd like to learn more about these two, check out our website and also their respective websites. We'll make sure to include that in our video. And also, if you'd like to learn more about the Samson Club, check out our website, ox-bow.org/the Samson Club. Hope that you'll join our membership today. Thank you for coming to our Toast Talk. We will talk with you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
Bye.